Let's get straight to analyzing some of these top business headlines now. I'm being joined by Gamaliel Tanimomo, public and business analyst. He joins us virtually now. Thank you, and good to see you again.
Same here. Thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. I'm very well, and I'm sure that you're trying to cope with the reality out there with regards to the naira scarcity. I mean, that's one of the first story, of course, talked about the fact that the money in circulation now is lower, and that is why we're having this crisis. For instance, the CBN said we have 788.92 billion naira outside the bank vault. That is to say, the money that is yet to be retrieved, from circulation. So how would you react to that? It looks to me that this is a huge or a whole lot to be wasted.
Okay, thank you for having me, and good morning to our listeners. So in my head, there's some discrepancy, but let's stay on. Says the currency outside banks stands at 800 billion. The question is, why do we have so much agitation? Because we've been seeing pockets of violence. I saw one of the banks where a lady scaled the door, and a guy also scaled the door. In the course of the week, accessing cash has been stressful. In fact, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for you to access cash. Sometimes in my bank, they give you 2,000, they give you 3,000. When they are magnanimous, they give you 5,000. So that is a lot of worry. The implication of this is that a lot of people are stranded, economic activities is grinding. I expect that our GDP will drop in this quarter. I'm very, very sure, because again, inflation has spiked to about 21.83%. So what the CBN is releasing vis-a-vis what should be is very minimal. And I think that they should do more, because the inclusion we preach has not been totally embraced. It will interest you that during the week, a colleague of mine said she took a bus, and then the driver hung his bank details on the dashboard, and people were making transfers. So as much as the Naira design has come with its own pains, yet it is a blessing in disguise, because we are now forced to adopt some other means, which is digital means, to ensure that we get funds. That's it.
I mean, there are two issues here. There are two figures here. One is that the 800 billion outside the vault or outside the banking system actually is belongs to, it's part of the old money in circulation. Now, the new money in circulation is put at 1.37 trillion naira. So that is just a little bit above 50% of what should have been in circulation. Remember, as at October 2020, the CBN said about 3.3 trillion naira, was in circulation at that time. But that is just before they started this monetary, the redesigned policy. That just before that, everybody was cool, but immediately that they were able to retrieve some money from the circulation. So you have about 800 billion still, in circulation. That is to say, the old note, 500 and 1,000 is still in circulation. So I do think that is a lot of waste, because as it is now, the Supreme Court stand, which of course the judgment which was insisted elapsed today, but you also remember that the president also overruled the Supreme Court. So it means that the 500 and 1,000 naira outside the banking system is no longer valid. So don't you think the 800 billion naira is a huge waste to the economy?
I agree. I saw that coming, and I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. I do not want to go into the legal undertones of the currency redesign. So the CBN has said, let us maintain status ante belong. But the president has said only the trainer is allowed to run until April. So I'm not going to go into the legal dimensions or the legal undertones. Now, there will be a waste. And Frank, I can tell you, even if the CBN allows for a year to allow people bring in the new note or the old note, because of our nature, people will not comply 100%. So we can only count our losses. But the question is, if my money has not found its way into the bank, how will I feel as a consumer? So what I will expect the CBN to do now is to be creative about mopping up cash, particularly the 500 naira note and the 1,000 naira note that is still in circulation. While the president has agreed that the 200 naira can still be spent. So the CBN needs to be creative because the CBN itself is putting itself under pressure. I saw a mammoth crowd at CBN Arena, and if care is not taken, it will snowball into a crisis of imaginable proportion. So the CBN needs to be creative about mopping up the 800 billion that is outside by working either through POSs or working through some certain banks in the 6 geopolitical zone that can act as a dump site, and then they can send to the CBN.
Well, I think we should leave it there. Hopefully, we should see, some new development from CBN before the election. The cost of energy, for instance, kerosene, just buying a kerosene alone has soared by 136% to 1,000 naira, 1,105 naira in December. That's between 2021 and 2022. So, how concerned are you about this? Because we have talked about how to address the shortage of supply of this energy, of this commodities, but it looks like all the effort are not yielding.
Okay, so I am bothered because kerosene seems to be the only or the last resort for the average man on the street. Now, if the price of kerosene has gone outside the reach of the average man, what it means is that millions of people are sliding into.
Hello, Tani Mama. Well, I guess losing connection with Gamaliel there. Trying to talk to us about the implication of the fact that a lot of people may not be able to afford kerosene anymore, being the last resort. But let me quickly ask you, do you think there will be an alternative? Can there be an alternative for the average man?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Well, maybe the only alternative is going to be charcoal. That looks to be the only alternative. Maybe charcoal, because after kerosene, gas is even more expensive. The price of gas has risen consistently, maybe by another 200% in the last 1 year. So gas is not even something we can consider. So outside kerosene, charcoal is the only thing that I think that can be used. I don't know how long the government is going to wait and sit back and look at how things slide. Something drastic needs to be done.
Now, the next story, of course, is perhaps good news for Nigeria, because NNPC has said that Nigeria's oil output has risen to 1.6 million barrels per day. Out of 1.8 million barrels of crude of allocation to Nigeria. Nigeria is currently producing about 1.6 million barrels per day. That's good news, isn't it? Would it make any difference in terms of revenue generation and putting us at ease? Hello, Tani Momo, can you hear me? Well, I guess this is quite, quite interesting. Can't hear, I had losing connection with Gamaliel there. But I was asking if you can hear me now. I was asking you that perhaps this is good time or good news for Nigeria, or cherry news for Nigeria, now that we can produce about 1.6 million barrels per day. Which it should be able to impact or reflect on the oil revenue, isn't it? Are you there, Gamaliel?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm excited that we're doing 1.6 million, which is 200,000 less of 1.8. But importantly is I'm concerned about the deficit of 200,000. So what proactive measures are we taking around or against oil bunkering, theft, militancy, etc., etc.? Because the more we increase the output that we can contribute to the bottom line, the more revenues we have. Because we have built our model as a country around the crude oil. So 1.6 million is good, but we need to take it to the next level. Maybe do a 1.8, but then we need to address the structural issues. Oil theft, illegal bunkering, militancy. So for me, Nigeria has a problem, and sometimes the fruit doesn't always fall from the tree. So we need to fix our own internal problems before we can begin to fix external problems. But that is a good one, that we now do 1.6 million barrels daily. It brings a ray of hope, and I'm sure it will help the government in planning, particularly for the fiscal year.
Well, we apologize for that sudden break there. Let's have your final thoughts now, Gamaliel, as regards the coming election. What are the feelings that you're getting? What are some of the reactions that you're getting around you with regards to people being prepared to cast their vote on Saturday? Talk to us.
Okay, so I wish Nigerians the very best as we go to the polls. And the panic buying is just a normal thing that is associated with every cycle of election. I trust that we'll get it right this time. So please, and I want to admonish or encourage the police and not the army to be on standby at strategic locations, at all polling booths. We should not bully people. Let's vote wisely. I'm excited at the campaigning approach this season. It's not about eating corn by the roadside. Maybe also it's not been issue based, but at least we have seen the emergence of one or two political parties that have sanitized the space. And it's just the beauty of democracy. It will definitely get better. I wish us the very best. And I hope that we get it right as a nation come Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's leave it there. Gamaliel Tanimomo, business analyst. We appreciate your time. And thank you for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Still to come after the break, we turn attention to the capital market and look at the sentiment driving currently the market. Be back in a moment. Please stay with us.